Hello everyone, and welcome to an amazing special short story, Cursed Blood at Work. Magnus9284 and Plusarik wrote this amazing story. Please support them. Don't forget to like, sub, and leave a comment. Now let's dive in. Chapter 1, Birth and Bloody Destiny. Chapter text. The human body, a thing we all live with despite not knowing the amount of work it goes through every day, the amount of beings living inside us, a huge ecosystem in itself even when only taking bacteria into account. But what about the cells inside? This story is a dramatization of what goes inside the human body, representing events of the day-to-day, or important events that happen to the greater will known as Azuku Midoriya, the body at large. Accompany us on this trip to the insides, to learn what goes around inside the wielder of cursed blood, a quirk disregarded since detection, and one that does more than meets the eye. This world was interesting to start with. The cells in the body all worked together ever since conception. The great cell had already divided enough, and most other cells were getting used to the world and their task in it. The placenta kept delivering nutrients and oxygen to the many red blood cells, childlike frames adorning many if not every cell in the body, the only mature cells in view being the red blood ones on the other side of the placenta. They always said they couldn't cross, only the younger cells born here could move in. The multiple great cells that already changed left behind many guides and manuals, each one helping the specific cells in the body, but there was one thing that even the neurons couldn't decipher yet. A multitude of egg-like structures littered the body, big as a mature cell but in places where they couldn't be an obstacle, and no one knew how or why. One young red cell, the vision of this world making him look like a young boy, red hair that mixed with the red ensemble he used, an officer hat and shirt in the same scarlet color, along with white gloves and comfortable jean shorts for running, was checking out one of these eggs, mighty curious before running to the placenta for the next delivery, wondering if the nice ladies on the other side would have the answers. When the young red cells asked in the placenta to the ones on the other side of the tunnel, they just nodded in understanding, a knowing look in their eyes as they recounted a tale. On their side, the body neurons commented about a quirk, of sorts, not a personality trait, but a function in the body that might be different than ours, mentioning the eggs might be the quirk of our side as theirs didn't have those eggs. Questions answered, the body let the issue rest, considering things wouldn't change that much, the older girls on the placenta saying things would solve themselves in due time. Then birth happened. It hasn't even been a day since the last earthquake finished, not even minutes after the placenta tunnel broke that the brain started to issue orders around the body, red blood cells running around and finding the new pathways from the heart to the lungs, the amniotic fluid still not reported to the brain to start the functions of the body when a crack echoed all over the body. Close to the lungs, a bit away from the blood arteries, but still in reach of that biological highway, a screech was heard, quickly mirrored by a multiple other ones coming from the multiple egg places, smaller cracks starting to be heard before the radio chatter started. NK cell here, the eggs have hatched, I request backup, these things are scary. Calm down NK, they were here, dendritic cell already confirmed they are not outsiders. They could very well be something worse. Skittering and screeches filled the eardrums of the many red cells in the lungs, the white blood cells doing their best to calm the others without any luck, before the creatures finally came into view of the one red blood cell in front of the bronchial tubes. A monster breathes down on the young red blood cell, 3 pairs of limbs, one acting as the main feet while the other 4 limbs acted as arms, and red-colored skin was visible with a black exoskeleton on the torso to the poor child. Yellow eyes and a beastly mouth closing in on them before sniffing slightly, way too close to comfort. This poor red cell was about to pass out from the sheer ferocity this creature. No, this monster looked like, wondering why the body had such things, knowing they should be friendly as they had the markers. It wasn't long before a roar was heard all over the body again, the creature running to the lungs and pushing against the membrane, forcing the body to cough out all the amniotic fluid inside the lungs with the help of the rest of that horde. The oxygen tanks didn't even make it to fill the area before the beasts once again went running, taking the oxygen with them and leaving the red cells wondering what was going on. This is brain command to all immune system, these creatures are not a danger, I repeat, not a danger, stand down. The order felt wrong for the still immature nervous system in the brain, but he saw the being of death and destruction scampering around the walls, carrying more oxygen with it than the normal red cell, even if red cells could carry, the speed unrivaled as it left all the needed without any show of aggression. It also grabbed a few books from the system, scanned them with precision yet unknown, then sniffed on that nerve and left the same way it came, same speed, same scampering. Then silence. Sir? Are you sure they mean us no harm? Those things. They are scary and I doubt we want them here, said another neuron in the brain command. It hasn't been a day and she was already out of her wits. The books transferred from the placenta never said anything about monsters. Trust me, if they wanted us dead we would be dead already. You saw the claws and you saw what it did to those guys in the immune system that tried attacking. They are stronger, faster, way more resistant than our defenses, but they just want to coexist maybe? He would soon get his answer in the next few hours when the first breastfeeding happened. The cells at the stomach were finishing processing the nutrients in the milk, the nutrients making their way to the intestines when the creatures struck again, the red blood cells seeing their workload stolen in no time and delivered at the same astounding speed, the very creatures running around and leaving both types of red blood cells with only scraps to deliver. This started to create debate in the coming hours, a few red blood cells finding a hidden spot in the armpit, hidden by the sweat glands as the children they looked like, with just as much chaos as a classroom. Okay, calm down everyone. We need to talk about the creatures dash. You mean monsters? Interrupted number 1037, one of the most loud voices of dissent in this congregation, not letting 411 finish his starting point again. The beings in the body who are doing part of our job, they are faster, stronger and shameful to admit, better than us in overall performance, the male-looking cell said dejectedly before looking forward to the rest of the congregation. That's why I'll do my best. I won't let them take our job that easily. It's the only thing we were born for. We survive and adapt or we can fall into unemployment. So who's with me? Things were silent for a few seconds, some people taking the words to heart. After all, they should always strive to be the best in the body to allow it to grow. Some others sided with 1037, who was the most vocal on the other side of the debate. Are you nuts? Did you see those things? They could easily destroy us in seconds if they wanted. They are killing machines, probably an immunomutation of sorts, not belonging to our job in any way, shape or form. Yet the rest of the cells are reporting they are tame, not a single one hurt by those wicked claws you mentioned. Oh, so you read a dictionary, nerd, that doesn't? Discussion stalled after the schoolyard insult started, both sides leaving minutes afterwards to resume their work, disgruntled with each other on the opinion to work alongside or against these creatures. Both sides still unaware of what would be seen in a few days. The body activity stalled in the night, not even the platelets were as active, most cells doing low-energy activities as the sleep cycle started. Usually on a baby this could stop at any moment. Hunger, nausea, feces and random colics happening during the night that would make the body wake up with a startling cry. Cries that happened from hunger or need of a new diaper, as most cells kept doing their work as usual. Then a rumbling was heard in the stomach. A colic. Medics haven't found exactly why babies get random colics even to this day, but they could be normal or signs of something major, a serious infection or malformation in the body. An anomaly. And anomalies are not permitted in the face of the creatures. Quick as lighting and before the stomach cells could notice, the creatures moved away from the blood vessels with the grace of a white blood cell going around every nook and cranny of the body, directly towards the muscle about to present the colic. And just as the cells noticed the creatures starting to work, they had finished, all systems showing perfect working conditions as the creatures scampered away, hiding away in the hidey holes they could find, still unnoticed to others as they tried to process what was going around here. One thing was certain, they repaired the possible damage faster than any platelet could do, and when a blue-shirt toddler with a white cap heard about it, they frowned and went to comment the new development to the other platelets. The aversion to anomalies came to light once again, when breastfeeding came with a surprise in the cargo. Staphylococcus aureus, that was the name of the invader, and in the position it was, the white blood cells had to think fast to reach the stomach, to save the chief cell that remained in there, too slow on the escape route that his companion had used when they came. The poor boy, dressed in a black t-shirt, white apron and a cloth holding his hair up, looking more like a chef than a chief, tumbled back from the yellow bacteria, scared as the bladed tip of her tentacles closed in on him, the female laughing in delight at the easy prey before her. Vents yet unnoticed by even the white blood cells opened, the creatures coming out of them like bats out of hell, a roar of defiance being let out before they piled on the poor bacteria. The fools that had invaded their home, something they wouldn't allow to get away. Not content with that, the few white cells that tried to get into the massacre that was the creature's fight were quickly, but gently pushed away from the area, not a sign of aggression to the cells from the body, but also a ruthlessness that not even killer T-cells would show once they reached maturity to the invader. Then the feeding began, the creatures not only killing, but erasing any and all proof of the bacteria ever existing in the body, leaving naught but a single drop of blood that quickly dissolved in the gastric acid, leaving with the grace of a trained assassin after dealing with their mark. The white blood cell, the neutrophil that was pushed away from the battle, white janitor-like overalls with a matching cap, was not amused nor happy with the development. Now the full blood system was miffed at these creatures, especially when the incident repeated itself when a common flu virus appeared, and yet again happened when the gray tube dropped dead virus and bacteria into the body, only a glimpse being visible in the bloodstream before the Ravagers erased that existence from the body, to the point they even attacked the gray tube once. Opinions on the body were divided on the Ravagers, especially on the ones whose works were being taken away. Some had decided to try and get closer to them, learn their ways, become better and stronger, to be the best they could try to achieve. Others were dismissive of the monsters and tried to actively get the drop on them, either by doing the job faster or by trying to be bothersome. Futile attempts, as the Ravagers had shown creativity in reaching their target in time. Eventually the accepting faction grew closer to them, and came back to show they had indeed been shown the ways of the Ravagers, speed and strength rivaled only by the Ravagers themselves, platelets working in tandem with the creatures to repair in seconds any single wound or rash before the nervous system even had time to register it. Red blood cells delivering nutrients and oxygen without any trouble for weight, the heart beating at a rhythm too slow for their feet, and yet they didn't alter the pressure in the vessels. One could hardly visually identify the accepting cells from the opposing, not a single difference between uniforms, but there was one single detail that made the body doubt about these Ravagers. The accepting white blood cells didn't return from that trip. And as the opposing faction slowly withered away, the life cycle of the cells ending, they could see the new recruits showing both platelet and red blood uniforms in one same cell, messenger bags on their side holding the platelet equipment as the red hat was replaced with a white cap reading RP, the nervous system accepting this change easily as it made commanding orders way faster. The last sight the opposing faction ever saw in the kidneys, moments before the final trip, was that of a red platelet cell, a neutral look on their face as a third arm appeared from behind them. Years passed, and the Ravagers didn't appear that much anymore, the now dubbed red platelets, doing everything the Ravagers did, deliveries, repairs, even hunting any invaders, the IgG from the breast milk having never seen action before it went away. Immune system still tried to work, but the red platelets did as that first bacteria incident with the Ravagers. They hyper-focused on the threat, repairs and herding away any onlookers, each one sprouting that third or even fourth arm to bring more power into the fray, hold the curious cells back or repair the damaged cells, alongside cleaning the mess. Never a single atom of the invaders was spared to the memory of the immune system. This was the new normal in the body once it turned to the 4th year, and things had grown into an idyllic peace, not even inner dangers being a threat to them. It was such a day when exercise in the body became too noticeable for the brain to let be, telling the rest of the cells to cooperate and watch out for any bad stretching. Not that it went noticed if it happened, the RP cells doing short work of anything they deigned, an anomaly, the few of them in the brain always aware of how the body should grow, what the perfect shape looked like, directing orders in their own radio chatter with surgical precision, their third arm always holding a book or two. And when the gray tube appeared they stood close, expecting another drop like before, knowing that the structure was too resistant for their attacks. Things didn't go as planned, as instead of dropping more food for the RP, it started sucking. White and RP cells being drawn upwards in a typhoon-like wind, unable to hold on before being taken away. The suction stopped, and after it happened there was chaos, radio chatter cutting off from the ones abducted. The gray tube entrance into the body was blocked in seconds, the cells returning to work as the brain relayed the orders from the Great Will. This was expected, resume your jobs, that they would receive further information once it was available. Things weren't looking so well for the abducted cells, the place they were in was taking away the warmth from them, and the only thing they could see was each other in some zero gravity or the void on the outside of those walls. Bacteria and virus abound, far more than any amount the white cells ever saw. The RP in the container knew different, this wasn't home, this was an extraction, and they wouldn't last with the limited oxygen and nutrients they had, not if they fought every single bacteria out there with all they had. Nutrients would be abound, no doubt, but the limited oxygen was the main issue. Not a real-time minute had passed before they knew things were not going to get better, the radio chatter being only that of the kidnapped before the very air around them pushed out, separation of cells happening. This is RP-117, we were pushed out into what looks like a crystal surface, germs and bacteria not in. Wait, what is that? 117, what's going on? Report. Sorry, yes, the news struck, interference on radio, survival in doubt, we will. 117 status report, dang it. The pushing started once again and the RP cells decided to do one last command, one to ensure the survival of them and to make things stay as perfect as they should. To last as long as oxygen let them, giving the remainder to the white cells as duty called, the body should remain safe even when outside of it. The multitude of experiments went unreported to the body at large, unknowingly creating changes to how the blood would work later down, as the missing units would prove they needed to communicate even outside of the body. They didn't last 30 minutes out of the body, but the white blood cells remained, awed at the self-sacrifice the efficient if ruthless cells made for them, cementing the fact that RP was always looking for the body well-being. It was their home, and survival depended on home. They didn't receive good news as the tear ducts opened that day more than ever before, the feelings department changing the leader for the remainder of the day, a blue-dressed individual contrary to the yellow chipper one that usually led the area, as the body functions slowed to a slightly somber mood. That remained until later that night, way past this body's time to sleep, when the words of the Great Will and the Greater Will were heard by everyone in the body, from the tear-stained epidermis in the face to the grief-stricken heart and all the way to the toes. Emma, can I be a hero? Like All Might? Came the voice from the throat, ripples flowing through it as body control was slightly lost, the feelings command affecting the whole function of it at large. Yes, of course you can. Even if not like All Might, you can be a hero, was heard from the eardrums, echoing in every vessel and cell apartments in the body, the Greater Will's voice, the one that was on the other side of the placenta tunnel, saying with uncertainty, but with all the love a sacred being such as them could show. At that moment, every red platelet held the same thought, as if their minds connected on that moment. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Support the writer. Don't forget to like, sub, share, and donate for more videos.